Real estate headlines these days can be absolutely dead wrong, and if you are making decisions based off them, you may be making a critical mistake. Headlines right now can be super confusing, talking about inflation, interest rates, supply approvals, farmland values, and whether you're a buyer, seller, investor, or a real estate agent, it can be very hard to make sense of it all. Now, what I can tell you is we have a very unique perspective because we are actually transacting in all asset classes, probably one of the only brokerages on the planet that actually does that. So I'm going to give you a few tools so when you are reading these headlines, you don't get caught making the wrong decisions just based on how these articles are framed and written. Now, the first piece of advice I'm going to give you is you need to understand the context of the person who wrote the article. So there's a ton of articles talking about how sales are up in the GTA month over month. We are actually seeing a large amount of sales volume where for the last 6 months, the headlines were no sales were happening, inventory was piling up. So it sounds super positive. Now, I saw a reaction post from somebody who runs a page that is constantly negative about the real estate market, talking about how, yeah, sure, sales are up, but that's only because prices are down. Again, taking a negative viewpoint on the fact that the real estate market is actually starting to heat up. Now, if I break apart the people that wrote both articles, the person who wrote that sales were up, it was actually CREA, so the Canadian Real Estate Association. They definitely have a penchant or an angle to have a positive outlook on the real estate market. I won't name the second person, but everything that I see them post online really pulls on the negative heartstrings of people and talks about doom and gloom all the time. If you go into the comments that they have on their posts, you'll see it's people that are really looking for confirmation bias that the whole real estate market's going to crash, values are going to drop off the face of the earth, and this is proof positive to that audience that it's actually happening. Now, the truth is actually somewhere in the middle. And as an operator who's boots on the ground, I can tell you my perspective is I'm the Switzerland of both of these people because I sell in up markets, I sell in down markets. I just look at what works for my clients. If I'm representing buyers, yeah, we might lowball and we might try offers on properties. We would never try in a balanced or a seller's market. But if I'm representing a seller, I'm getting very astute on the data and making sure we are sharp on our price point because the data is telling us that sellers are finding the market dropping their prices to the point of the guy who wrote the negative articles, but that's leading to buyers actually jumping on those opportunities, increasing the sales, which leads to the positive outlook from CREA. Now, I want you to extrapolate that to everything you read on social media and in the news. You need to understand where you're taking this information from and the angle that that person has when it comes to why they're writing it. We live in a world where people are addicted to instant gratification and allergic to accountability. And many of these people know it and they use it to their advantage. And there's a reason why they are trying to hook you, pull on your emotional heartstrings, and get an emotional reaction from you, which keeps you reading and keeps you engaging. But if you're somebody that watches my videos, I know you're a little bit smarter than your average bear. And you know that investors are not fear-based. Unsuccessful people act because of fear, successful people act in spite of it, but they are armed with the data. So you really need to understand what's happening from a macro perspective, but you need to get very micro on your current situation. And like I said, we transact in residential resale, which is a very active market, but you have to be very sharp on your price point. We transact in luxury properties, which is a completely different ballgame. New development, commercial, farmland, and don't even get me started about going through the different territories that we cover. Each of those is a very different set of rules. So the moral of the story, do not get stuck in the headlines. Be smarter than that. If you've seen any headlines that you feel are skewed or don't tell the whole story, jump in the comments and let me know. We'd love to hear your opinion of media these days, what it means to you and how you digest it.